Hello and welcome. We are on page number 34 of chapter number 8, which deals with invoices, debit notes, credit notes, and e-way bill. The next topic which we have to deal is about the amount of tax to be indicated in tax invoice and other documents, which is dealt by section 33. So section 33 of the Act is a overriding provision. It is a non-obstinate clause. It starts with the words notwithstanding anything contained in this act or any other law for time being in force. Means it not only overrides the provisions as contained in this act but also in any other acts also. If a supply is made for consideration, then every person who is liable to pay tax for such supply shall prominently indicate in all documents relating to assessment, tax invoice and other like documents the amount of tax which shall form part of the price at which the supply is made. The GST law aims at a transparency. Transparency means the recipient or the consumer should know what is the price he is making, what is the price for which he bought the goods, what is the tax charged on that price, and that fellow has to know these details. In order to ensure transparency, this overriding provision states that where any supply is made for a consideration, then in all the documents, be it relating to assessment or be it a tax invoice or similar documents like that, the amount of tax should be mentioned prominently. Since we are through the invoice provisions, the debit note provisions, the credit note provisions, the last part in this chapter deals with e-way bill. The last part in this chapter deals with e-way bill. The provisions relating to e-way bill are contained in section 68 of this statute book, that is the CGST Act, and also we are going to learn the relevant rules as applicable to e-way bills, which are given in the CGST rules. Now, under the GST regime, what has happened is the checkposts across the country have been removed. Across the country, the checkposts have been removed. Previously, there used to be checkposts. Now, under the GST regime, all the checkposts across the country have been removed. Now, why these checkposts are removed? For the purpose of quick and easy movement of goods without any hindrances. So, for quick and easy movement of goods without any hindrances, the checkposts across the country have been removed. But there should be a mechanism to monitor the movement of goods and also to control tax evasion. Previously, what is the purpose for which the checkposts are intended? In order to control the movement of goods and to check tax evasion. Now, if the checkposts are being abolished, the checkpost system have been abolished, then there should be another mechanism by which the movement of goods should be controlled and also checking of tax evasion is to be done. Now, so in order to ensure these twin achievements or the two requirements, that is the monitoring of the movement of goods as well as checking of the tax evasion, a new system of e-way bill system has been introduced. Now, under the e-way bill, what the taxpayer has to do is, before the movement of goods commences in a conveyance, would inform each transaction details to the tax department and also obtain an acknowledgement number for having thus informed, and this acknowledgement number will be a valid document accompanying the conveyance carrying the goods. Now, what is the idea for which this e-waybill system has been introduced? The taxpayer is made to upload the details of each transaction to the common portal through the internet. Now, once this transaction details are uploaded, what will happen is the common portal will automatically generate a document which can be tracked and verified by any of the stakeholders. So previously there used to be check posts. What is the main purpose of the check posts? To control the movement of goods and also to check tax evasion. Under GST regime, what happened? The check posts have been removed. But there should be a mechanism to control the movement of goods as well as to check the tax evasion. So a new system has been put in place called the e-waybill system. Now under e-waybill system, what will happen? Before the movement of goods commences in a conveyance, the taxpayer, what he will do? Electronically he will upload the details of the transaction in a designated portal. That designated portal will generate a document, will generate an acknowledgement. Now that generated acknowledgement will serve the purpose and the movement of goods can be tracked. Now what does section 68 of the CGST Act state? Section 68 states that the government may require a person in charge of the conveyance carrying on any consignment of goods for a specified exceeding a specified value, then along with such carriage of or conveyance, he should carry with him a document and such devices as may be prescribed. Devices means trackers, GPS trackers. Okay. Now rule number 138 prescribes e-waybill as a document to be carried for the consignment of goods in certain prescribed cases. So what the carrier of the conveyance or the person in charge of the conveyance carrying any consignment of goods, he should along with him carry a document as may be prescribed. Now, Rule 138 prescribes the e-waybill as the document which is to be carried along with the conveyance. Now, what is a e-waybill per se? E-waybill is a receipt or a document. Who will issue the e-waybill? Issued by a carrier. What does the e-waybill contain? Giving the details and instructions. It contains the details as well as the instructions relating to a shipment of consignment of goods. Means this e-waybill provisions are applicable only for goods. They are not applicable for services. Okay. What are the details that will be given by the e-waybill? What is the name of the consignor? What is the name of the consignee? What is the point of origin? What is its destination? And what is its route? These details will be contained in the e-waybill. Now, e-waybill is a compliance mechanism wherein through a digital interface, the person who is causing the movement of goods uploads the relevant information. When he will upload the relevant information regarding a transaction, before the goods have commenced their movement, and the e-waybill will be generated on the GST portal. There is a separate portal for the generation of e-waybill. So what, in a nutshell, what you can say is e-waybill is an electronic document. Where it is generated on the GST portal. What is the purpose of generating the e-waybill? It will evidence the movement of goods. It will evidence the movement of goods. What are the benefits that will be accrued through e-waybill? The e-waybill mechanism, what it will do is, The physical interface will pave the way for digital interface, because of which what will happen is the state boundaries or checkposts will be eliminated. The e-way bill system will facilitate a faster movement of goods. It will also improve the turnaround time of the trucks, in turn which will help the logistics industries by increasing the average time or distance traveled, as well as it will save the time as well as the cost, because previously under the previous indirect tax regime there used to be the checkpost system, wherein many of the vehicles which pass through that checkpost are stopped for the purpose of checking. So there used to be huge queues on the highways at these checkposts. Thereby, a lot of time of the trucks were wasted, as a result of which a lot of costs used to be involved or were incurred. Now, with the abolition of checkposts and the introduction of e-way bills, this time will be saved, costs will be saved, the faster movement of goods will be there, because when time is saved, previously if it is used to take 3 days from the origin to the destination, now it may take only 2.5 days, or now even it may take only 2 days. So faster movement of goods is there, and from physical interfaces to digital interfaces, the transition is being made. Now, what is the form in which the e-way bill will be generated? E-way bill will be generated in GST EWB01, where it will be generated on a common portal for the e-way bill systems. Now, don't get confused with the normal common GST portal, that is gst.gov.in. But this is e-way bill gst.gov.in is the common portal where the e-way bill has to be generated. Now, this common portal will also facilitate the generation, cancellation, updation and assignment of e-way bill. You will understand what do you mean by generation, what do you mean by cancellation. But you should also need to understand what is an updation and what is an assignment of e-way bill, which we will understand in our further course of learning. Now, these details are available, these facilities are available to the supplier, to the recipient and to the transporter. There are three stakeholders in this e-way bill system. One is the supplier, another one is the recipient, and another one is the transporter. Now, in how many modes e-way bill can be generated? Of course, it has to be generated electronically or digitally through internet. But in how many ways? You can go to the website of e-way bills gst.gov.in through your laptop or a desktop or iMac, etc. Also, there is an Android app for this. E-way bill can be generated through SMS also. Also, there is a bulk upload tool. If you take the example of some large factories wherein each day a number of consignments will move outside, then for them, instead of preparing the e-way bill on an individual basis, some bulk upload tools are also made available, or API based site integrations is also there. Means application program interface. Suppose you may be having a accounting system running under a SAP or some other software. Now, through an API tool, what they will do is, once the invoice is generated, the system takes care and it will integrate, or there will be an interface in this system to directly upload the invoice details on to the GST site, and wherein the e-way bill will be generated. So automation will also be can also be done. That facility is also given. Now, in order to for a person to generate a EV bill, there should be some prerequisites. The person who generates e-way bill should be a registered person on the GST portal, and he should also register on the e-way bill portal. Now sometimes what will happen is there might be a transporter who is not a registered person. If a transporter is not a registered person normally under the GST law, he should enroll himself on the e-way bill portal. He should enroll himself on the e-way bill portal. Now, the e-way bill provisions are contained in rule number 138. Rule number 138. Of course, what is the section which deals with the provisions of the e-way bill? It is section number 68. Read with rule number 138. Read with rule number 138. Read with rule number 138. Now 138 rule has so many, how many are there? 138 A, B, C, D. Okay. Now let us go into the rules. So when an e-way bill has to be generated has been provided in sub rule 1 of rule number 138. Whenever there is a movement of goods of consignment of the value exceeding 50,000. Then what do you mean by value? We will understand the meaning of the value in subsequent paragraphs. Now, the value of the movement of goods is exceeding 50,000 rupees. In relation to supply, movement of goods can also be through a situation which is not a supply, and inward supply from an unregistered person. So these are the three circumstances where the value exceeds 50,000, e-way bill is to be generated. So what is that? Where the supply involves movement of goods, where the movement of goods is not on account of supply, where there is going to be an inward supply from an unregistered person and the value is going to exceed 50,000 rupees. Now, who shall cause the generation of e-way bill? The registered person who causes such movement of goods shall furnish the information in part A of e-way bill 01. I am X Limited. I supplied goods to Y Limited. Now the supply occasions the movement of goods. Before the goods commences their movement, I should initiate the generation of e-way bill. I should fill up part number A of EWB01. Right? Now, the information is to be furnished prior to the commencement of movement of goods, and it is to be issued whether the movement in relation to supply or for a reason other than supply. Because what are the circumstances under which you are going to issue the way bill? The movement is on occasion of supply, or maybe not on occasion of supply, or maybe you are procuring from the unregistered person. Now, who causes the movement of goods? Now, if the supplier is a registered person and if he undertakes to transport the goods, movement of goods is caused by the supplier. Okay. Now, if the recipient arranges the transport, movement is caused by him. Then who has to initiate the e-way bill procedures? Who has to fill the part A? Part A is to be filled by the recipient in that circumstance. If the supplier arranges the transportation of goods to the destination of the recipient, then that supplier will initiate waybill. But if the recipient transport the goods, then the transportation movement of goods is arranged by the recipient, then the recipient will generate the waybill. Now, if goods are supplied by an unregistered person to a non-registered recipient, movement should be caused by the recipient, who is a registered person. Now here, what we have understood is e-way bill is mandatory in cases where value exceeds 50,000 rupees. Okay. So what is the meaning of value? So value is to be determined as per section 15. We already understood in the value of supply chapter, which is declared in an invoice or a bill of supply or a delivery challan. Okay. If it is a taxable supply, it is invoice. If it is an exempted supply, it is bill of supply. If it is movement is caused otherwise than on account of supply, it will be a delivery challan, right? So the value determined in accordance with section 15, which is declared in the invoice, bill, etc., also includes CGST, SGST, UTGST, IGST, and cess, if any, that has been charged in the document. So including tax. So invoice value you have to take. So it is not a taxable value. It is not taxable value. It is invoice value, including tax, if the value exceeds 50,000, right? It will not include the value of exempt supply, where the invoice is issued in respect of both exempt and taxable supply of goods. So for exempted goods, invoice e-way bill is not a must. Okay. What will happen is, sometimes you will issue tax invoice come bill of supply. We learned that provision. Tax invoice come bill of supply, because in the same invoice both taxable goods as well as exempted goods are dealt. Okay. Now, if such is the case, from this invoice you have to exclude the exempted supply. Then only if the amount exceeds 50,000 rupees, you have to generate the e-way bill. Right. Suppose the movement of goods is for reasons other than supply, then there will be delivery challan. This delivery challan contents should contain value of the goods. So the value of the goods given in the delivery challan should also be the value to be given in the e-way bill. There may be certain situations wherein e-way bill will not be issued or need not be issued, even the consignment needs to be issued. Generally, in sub rule 1 of 138 rule, what we have learned that e-way bill is mandatory in cases where the value of the consignment exceeds 50,000. But there may be certain circumstances wherein even if the value of the consignment is less than 50,000 rupees, there is a mandatory requirement to issue a e-way bill. What are those circumstances? Now, those circumstances are given in the proviso to rule number 138 sub rule 1, that is interstate transfer of goods by principal to the job worker. If goods are sent by the principal located in one state to a job worker located in another state, the e-way bill shall be generated. Who will generate the e-way bill? The principal may generate, or the job worker if registered, irrespective of the value of the consignment. They have to generate. Now, interstate transfer of handicraft goods by a person exempted from obtaining registration. In the chapter registration, we have learnt that where there is an generally if you make an interstate supply, you require registration, but there are certain exceptions. One of the exception is interstate supply of a handicraft goods. Okay. Now, when but one of the condition there is that e-way bill has to be generated. So, if handicraft goods are transported from one state to another state, now this person is actually exempted to get a registration. The e-way bill will be generated by said person irrespective of the value of the consignment, because there is an exemption for registration in those provisions. One of the conditions prescribed is that this fellow supplier has to generate e-way bill. Okay. Now, e-way bill in the case of bill to ship to model. Now let us take an example. A has placed an order with B. So who is the supplier? B is the supplier. Who is the recipient? A is the recipient. But actually what A has instructed B is to supply the goods C to C. So in this case, who is the recipient? C is the recipient. Now here there are two supplies. One supply is made by B to A is one supply. Supply 1. The another supply is supply made by A to C. This is supply number 2. So in this case, so one invoice is raised by B to A. The second invoice for supply by A to C. Now A has to make invoice C. Now in this case, through a press release dated 23rd of April 2018, it has been clarified that in this scenario, only one e-way bill will be generated, because the movement of goods is only from B to C. Okay. So in this case, only one e-way bill will be generated. Okay. So what is that e-way bill generated? That B to C only will be generated. Okay. What is the information which is required to be furnished in e-way bill? As already discussed, the e-way bill comprises of two parts, part A and part B. The e-way bill comprises of two parts, part A and part B. Now part A, what are the details? GSTN of the supplier, GSTN of the recipient, what will be the place of delivery including PIN code, what is that document, reference, be it a tax invoice, be it bill of supply, be it a delivery challan, or be it bill of entry for import of goods, right? So that document number and date is to be given. What is the value of goods, what is the HSN code, and what is the reason for transportation. And similar other kind of information is also required to be furnished. Who will furnish? The registered person will furnish, part A. Who is causing the movement? It can be either the consignor or the consignor. Because if the supplier is arranging for a transport, the supplier will initiate part A. If the recipient is arranging for transport, the recipient will initiate e-way bill. So, barring a few exceptions, when an e-way bill has to be generated, it has to be generated where the value of the consignment exceeds 50,000. What do you mean by value of consignment? We understood the meaning. Now, part B contains the transporter details. What does part B contain? Part B contains the transporter details. So what are the transport details? Transporter document number means the goods receipt number or the railway receipt number or the airway bill number or bill of lading number. Also, what is the vehicle number in case of transportation by goods to be furnished by the person who is transporting the goods. So part A will be filled by the person who is arranging the transport or who is causing the movement of goods. Part B will be filled by the person who is transporting the goods. Okay. However, information in part A may also be furnished by a transporter on an authorization received from registered person. So part A may also be filled by the transporter, or part A may also be filled by the e-commerce part B. Part A may also be filled by the transporter, or part A may also be filled by the e-commerce operator or courier agency where the goods to be transported are supplied through an e-commerce operator or a courier agency. Normally, part A is to be filled by the person who occasions the transport, okay, or who causes the movement of goods. Part B is to be filled by the transporter. But in some cases, part A may also be filled by the transporter, or if the goods are supplied through e-commerce operator or a courier, that part A can be filled by the courier or the e-commerce operator also. Who is mandatorily required to generate the e-way bill? Where the goods are transported by the registered person, whether as a consignor or recipient as the consignee, whether in own conveyance or hired one or public conveyance by road, the said person have to generate the e-way bill by furnishing the information in part B also on the common portal. You have not arranged a transporter. What you are doing in your own conveyance, you are transporting. Where is the transporter? You yourself have a auto or a lorry or a goods carriage vehicle. In that vehicle, you are causing the movement of goods. So part A you only will fill, part B you only will fill. Both the parts you have to fill. Who else will fill the part B? Now, where the e-way bill is not generated by the registered person and the goods are handed over to the transporter for transportation of goods by road, the registered person shall furnish the information relating to the transporter in part B on the common portal, and the e-way bill shall be generated by the transporter on the basis of information furnished by the registered person in part A. Suppose part B is not filled by the registered person, he has filled only part A, then it is the obligation and responsibility of the transporter to fill the part B. On what basis? On the basis of information that has been provided by the registered person in part A. Okay. If the goods are transported by railways or by air or by vessel, the e-way bill shall be generated by the registered person. Okay. Being the supplier or recipient who shall either before or after the commencement of movement furnish the information in part B. Because first what will happen is, this fellow first he will generate the registered person who initiates the movement We'll first fill the form A. To fill the part B, he should have the details of the conveyance details. So at the time of filling part A, he will not have the details. Now once he has handed over the goods to railways, that fellow will give a railway receipt. Now thereafter, after receiving the railway receipt, he will fill up the part B. Okay. Now this is not applicable in respect of transportation of goods by road. Transportation of goods by road, in the first two cases we have already examined. Okay. Next, what are the other important points which you should keep in mind? If the goods are transported by railways, there is no requirement to carry e-way bill along with the goods. Normally the e-way bill has to be carried with the goods carriage. But if the goods are transported by railways, the e-way bill need not be carried along with the goods, but the railways should have a invoice copy or delivery challan or bill of supply along with the goods. Should e-way bill be generated for transportation of goods by railways? Yes, e-way bill will be generated. By whom? The registered person or the recipient. Now this e-way bill which has been generated is to be produced at the time of delivery of the goods. So the goods have reached the destination and this recipient went for delivery. Now at that time the e-way bill should be produced to the railways. Unless the e-way bill is produced, railways should not deliver the goods. Now when the e-way bill generation is mandatory, when the value of the goods exceeds 50,000 rupees. Now what if the value is less than or equal to 50,000 rupees? The generation of e-way bill is optional. So either the registered person or the transporter, any of them can generate the e-way bill. It is optional if the value of the consignment does not exceed 50,000. Now sometimes what will happen is the movement is caused by the unregistered person, either in his own conveyance or a hired one or through a transporter. Now he or the transporter may at their option generate the e-way bill. So the unregistered person is occasioning the transport. This fellow is not registered on the GST portal. So, but what he can do, he can register in the e-way bill portal. He can register in the e-way bill portal. Now, if the movement is through the transporter, who can generate the e-way bill? Transporter can generate the e-way bill. But if the goods are transported in the own conveyance, if there is no transporter, this fellow happens to be an unregistered person, what has to be done? This fellow has to register on the e-way bill portal and then generate the e-way bill. Now, where the goods are supplied by unregistered supplier to a recipient who is registered, then the movement will be caused by the recipient if he is known at the time of commencement of movement of goods. So supplier is unregistered, recipient is registered. Then who has to initiate the movement? The recipient shall initiate the movement and he has to generate the way bill. Now, sometimes it is not mandatory to furnish the details of conveyance in Part B. Now, what are those situations? Now, what does explanation 2 to rule number 138 subrules 3 stipulates? That e-way bill is valid for movement of goods by road only when the information in part B is furnished. But the details of the conveyance may not be furnished in part B of the e-way bill, where the goods are transported for a distance up to 50 kilometers within the state or union territory. From the place of business of the consignor to the place of business of the transporter for further transportation. Now I have a consignment of 60,000 rupees. I have filled part A. Now this is my factory. My factory is situated here. Somewhere here the distance is 10 kilometers. There is a transporter office. What I have to do? I have to take this 60,000 worth of goods until the place of the transporter. Now what part of the waybill is prepared? Only until part A it has been prepared. Part B, I don't know the carrier vehicle number through which this 60,000 value of the goods will be transported to the other place. How can I fill? Only the transporter can fill part B. Now the e-way bill or the movement of goods is not valid unless the part B is filled. So a relaxation has been provided that where from your place to the place of transporter you are carrying the goods and the distance does not exceeds 50 kilometers, then part B need not be filled, part A is enough. Okay, next, from place of business of transporter finally to the place of business of the consignee. So this lorry office, the goods have reached the destination. This is the place of business of a lorry office. The 60,000 worth have reached here. Now the recipient is 5 kilometers away. This fellow came here and took the goods to his place. Now this place is not covered by part B. Part B covers only up till this place. Okay. Now these 5 kilometers the goods can be taken without the details being provided in part B. Unique e-way bill number. Now the e-way bill will be generated on the common portal and a e-way bill number, unique number, shall be made available to the supplier, the recipient and the transporter on the common portal. Sometimes what may happen is the goods should reach from place X to place Z. In between there is a place Y. First the goods will reach here in lorry 1. Thereafter here the goods get unloaded and they are loaded into lorry 2. Already part A comprises that the goods will be from place X to place Z. But what the part B contain? Only place X to place Y. So what about this? So the provision has been provided that the part B will be amended or updated. Okay. So goods are transferred from one conveyance to another. The consignor or recipient who provided information in part A or the transporter shall before such transfer the further movement of goods update the details of conveyance in part B. So who can modify the details? It can be modified, the details can be modified either by the person who filled the part A. be it the consignor or the recipient or the transporter. Okay, any of these three parties can do that. The consignor or the recipient who furnish the information in part A or the transporter may assign the e-way bill to another registered enrolled transporter for updating the information in part B. So previously we have understood or we have referred to certain terms like updation. We have referred to a term called what you call assignment. So those meanings now we are able to understand. Those meanings now we are able to understand. So the consignor or the recipient who has filled the part A or the transporter who have filled the part B now can assign the e-way bill to another transporter for updating the part B. Once the details of the conveyance have been updated by the transporter in part B, the consignor or recipient who have furnished the part A shall not be allowed to assign the e-way bill number to another transporter. So if once this part B has been assigned to a new transporter, now again the consignor or the recipient can't make the changes or assign this e-way bill to another transporter. It can't be done. Okay. Now, a consignor is, let's understand this with the help of an example. A consignor is required to move the goods from city X to city Z. That's what the example I have given here. Okay. He appoints a transporter A for the movement of goods. Transporter A moves the goods from X to Y city. Now, if the goods, in order to reach the destination, they should also move from city Y to city Z. Now, transporter A, now what he has done, he handed over the goods to transporter B. Now, from here onwards, from city Y to city Z, the goods are moved to destination by transporter B. Now, only one e-way bill will be generated. Part A will be filled by the consignor. Then the e-way bill will be assigned by the consignor to transporter A. Transporter A will fill part B and move the goods from city X to city Y. Now the goods reached city Y. Now what A will do? He will assign the e-way bill to transporter B. Thereafter transporter B, what he will do? He will update the details in part B. Now in part B, what this transporter B does, transporter B will fill up the vehicle details and he will move the goods from city Y to city Z. This has been clarified by press release number 144 dated 31st March 2018. Now let's understand the concept of consolidated e-way bill. Now what is this consolidated e-way bill? Now this e-way bill, once it has been generated, where the multiple consignments are intended to be transported in one conveyance, the transporter, what he will do is, he will indicate the serial numbers of e-way bills generated in respect of consignment electronically on the common portal, and a consolidated e-way bill in GST e-way bill 2 will be generated prior to the movement of goods. What happened is, X Limited booked 65,000 worth of goods to be moved from Vijayawada to Tirupati, right? And one e-way bill is generated. Now, another person with the consignment value of 2 lakhs also booked, this fellow is Y Limited. This fellow generated e-way bill number 2. The goods are from Vijayawada to Tirupati. Right? Now this fellow filled the part A of e-way bill 1. This fellow filled part A of e-way bill 2. Now both these people handed over the goods to the transporter. Now transporter has to fill the part B. Now what this transporter can do is, instead of carrying these number of waybills, he can generate a consolidated waybill in form number 2. In this consolidated waybill, he should mention the numbers of the individual waybills. He should mention the numbers of the individual waybills. Now, what is a consolidated e-waybill? It is a document containing multiple e-waybills for multiple consignments to be carried in one conveyance. So, transporter carrying multiple consignments of various consignors and consignees in a single vehicle can generate and carry a single document called consolidated e-waybill instead of carrying on many e-waybills. Consolidated waybill is like a trip sheet. It contains the details of different e-waybills in respect of various consignments being transported in one vehicle, and these e-waybills, individual e-waybills, will have different validity periods. What is a validity period of a e-waybill? We will understand in the next session. So what we have to understand is, the consolidated e-waybill will not have an independent validity period. But the consolidated e-waybill will have the details of all the individual waybills of different consignments. So the validity period of each of the consignment will be valid only up to the period relating to that individual e-waybill that has been already been generated. Okay. Now, where the consignor or the consignee has not generated the waybill in e-waybill 1, the aggregate of the consignment value of the goods in the conveyance is more than 50,000. The transporter, except for railways, airways, vessel, means transportation by road, shall in respect of interstate supply generate e-waybill in e-waybill 01 on the basis of invoice or bill or delivery challan, and also can generate consolidated e-waybill on the common portal prior to the movement of the goods. Now this has been provided in rule number 138.7. Now X Limited gave goods to the transporter worth 40,000. This fellow did not generate the e-waybill. Y Limited handed over the goods worth 25,000. This fellow did not generate the e-waybill. Now these two fellows gave the goods to be transported from Vijayawada to Vizag. Now the total became how much? The total became 65,000. But both these fellows did not initiate the waybill. If total exceeded 65,000 rupees, the transporter has to initiate. Transporter himself have to fill part A. How can part A be filled by the transporter? On the basis of the invoice or bill of supply or delivery challan, this fellow gave one. This fellow gave another invoice or bill of supply or delivery challan. Based on these things which have been handed over by X Limited and Y Limited to the transporter himself have to fill part A as well as part B. Right? However, where the goods are to be transported or supplied through e-commerce operator or courier agency, the part A will be filled by e-commerce operator or the courier agency. That we already know. Okay friends, what we will do is, We will continue in next session.